Robert, we're live.
Hey, welcome to another WHCC Live and on Display. I'm Robert, and beside me is the always scintillating Christina.
Thanks for showing up today, I could say.
I thought we were doing a little run through first. Okay, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to help you answer the question, what should I print my images on? What media is going to look best? And we're going to walk through everything. We'll start with photo prints, we'll go to fine art, and we'll move to metals, canvas, acrylic, and finally wood over here. That was a lovely follow. Whoever's back there in the darkness following, that was beautiful, whatever your name is. Constance? Connie? Like your work. Now, folks, as we go through this, of course, we are going to talk about each of the media, each medium and how it prints different from every other one, what its printing characteristics are, and then Christina's going to take us through some, examples of what kind of imagery looks great on this medium, what are the popular mediums that are coming through the lab right now, and things like that, and hopefully help you narrow those things down. What do you want to put your imagery on?
And Robert, you'd say probably one of the most common questions we get all the time, especially if you're unsure what to print on, is what should I print on, right? And I think our answer is always, what your personal preference is, but I think today going through some of the basics of what the same image will look like on all the different mediums is awesome that we're going to do. So.
Exactly. And as we go through, don't forget to drop in your questions and we will get those answered. And be sure to haunt us on all of our social platforms. And more information on any of these products, of course, head over to WHCC.com. So without any further ado, why don't we just jump in?
Yeah. Start with the basics?
Yeah, let's start with the basic, which the bread and butter. Let's start with just photo prints. And we're going to show you varieties, right, of these products. And the magic hand has just handed one up to me. So what we're going to do here is show you a couple of different examples. We're going to show you our luster photo paper, which is this, as you can see. We're going to show you our deep matte. You see how that does not reflect at all. So the luster paper is the one that moves all the time. I mean, we have tons of orders every day with that.
Yep.
But the deep matte is also very unique, as you see it does not catch any light at all.
Yeah, but I'd say it's been a few years now since we had the deep matte. And obviously with the photo, we could show you tons of our different coatings and stuff like that. But this is just a good comparison between the luster and the deep matte. I think what you're showing is great.
Exactly. And so what would you say as far as what looks good on photo paper?
I mean, obviously anything, like you said, to be honest, it's the bread
So
and
really,
butter.
like any of this kind of stuff, whether
Yes.
you've got portraits,
landscape, family, outdoors, I think any of those. I do think the difference between the deep matte and the photo really is personal preference. Deep matte really became kind of popular of wanting like a matte, not as shiny as the luster, even though luster isn't super shiny, but it does, like you said, has a reflective. I tend to be drawn to the deep matte now,
Sure.
but I still know some of the people like the sheer kind of the coating and some of the texture. So again, I think that's personal preference, and I think whatever you choose to sell, people will buy. So I don't think you necessarily have to choose, but I think they both kind of offer the same things, but just different looks.
Right on. And so different coatings and things like that, check out the website for more details there. Thank you, Hand. I'll put that here. So now let's move on to our next category here, which is going to be the fine art papers. Now again, we have a lot of fine art papers. And so we're going to show you an uncoated versus a coated, kind of the two extremes. Again, thank you, Hand. You're magical. So what we have here in my left, your right, in someone's right or left, this one here is going to be smooth matte, right? And it's just like it sounds, okay? It's tabletop smooth, and all of these papers are produced with an inkjet giclée process, right? So from contrast from the photos, these are archival inkjets. And then you see in my other hand, this is really, I love this new paper. So this metallic red fine art is a very cool paper because yes, it has a little, this is coated, right? So it has a little finish to it, protects it a little bit, I guess in that sense, right? But it also has this sort of metallic type sheen, okay? It's a fine art paper, it's not metal, but it has a metallic type sheen throughout, which is pretty cool as well. So again, we have a stable of other papers as well. Christina,
Hey Robert, question for you.
Yeah.
So the difference between a fine art and a photo, because a lot of people will compare those two. Like when you say like someone wants the full color of their image, would you suggest fine art or photo?
I would go with fine art. You're going to have just a little bit more depth in the color range, right, as far as that goes. Like the photo papers are going to give you more, say, more maybe consistency across skin tones and things like that. But the payoff, of course, you don't have the depth of this, right? Because that's a true photographic process. And these inkjet prints give you a little more. I love these. I love all of them.
I'd say too, Robert, everything up here that we're showing you is obviously high quality, archival, everything that we sell, right, is 100% professional. But I would say if someone's looking for like the highest quality, most archival, fine art tends to be the one we would suggest nowadays, right?
Agreed. And so they're going to call it a lifetime archival ability, right? Which is, in other words, they say 100 years in normal storage, twice that if it's in dark storage. But yeah, very strong.
Robert kind of leaned back to the samples behind us too. And what we're showing here over here is a fine art print in a frame. So obviously with our fine art prints, you can get them loose, you can get them framed, you can do lots of things with them. But this is a good example of what we think looks good on fine art. Fine art obviously does also look really great with artwork, but this one does show some skin tones, some facial, also has some depth in there too. So I think it's just a good sample of a classic fine art print that you could print on there.
So we have, along with this paper, these two papers that we showed you, this being the smooth matte, right?
Yep.
You like that for, you mentioned, you know, if there's faces, skin there. We have other papers with the texture on them, but maybe this is going to be nice and smooth across.
Yes, yep.
Tone, right?
I would agree with Robert. Yep.
Cool.
Should we go on to the next one?
Yes, let us move on. Now we're going to move on to metal prints. Metal prints, there's a lot of options here. We're going to show you again the two extremes. We're going to start with the most popular, and then Christina will walk those down as well. Here comes Hand. Thank you, Hand. What I have here is, this would be our most popular. Now this is going to be the white base high gloss finish, and you see that really has a ton of pop and a lot of impact. This is our most popular combination, but it's going to run through to semi-gloss to matte, and it's going to run from this white base, which is going to give you more like photo paper. Whites are white, right, but it's really going to pop, and then down to even a clear basis, which is going to be totally different. And I'll show you an example. But here we have, if we walk down to, this is our semi-gloss, or no, this is our matte. So here we have the high gloss, which is really going to be reflective, right? So it's something to consider. If I'm facing a bay of windows where I display this, you're going to see the windows, whereas this is going to knock down that shine, right? Yep. So that's a thing to consider, right? So let me show you just one more thing before Christina takes over, just to show you the wide variety that you can get out of this. All right, this is a black and white image, obviously, and this is a clear base high gloss.
So Robert, actually looking at it from the eye, it looks like metal. Like it does look for sure metal, right? So like anything white would print more metal.
That's exactly right. So remember that anything that's white, all the way white, actually is going to be completely clear. I don't know if Constance can get up on this. Connie, can you do it? It's hard to see, but you will actually see the brushed aluminum all the way straight through it. So really impactful, right? So this is a really cool too. So again, it kind of comes down to what is your style, your vibe, right?
Yep. And I would think metal prints is really popular and trending. So I really think at the end of the day, you can print whatever you want. We are showing back behind us is a landscape that really pops. And again, I would suggest anyone that does landscapes or even nature photography like that, metals is one of the #1 substrates that we would suggest to them. Again, we also showed you the girl, you know, her skin tone looked really good too, but the red that you're showing, you know, popped. So I think anything that has really high contrast or really bright images or outdoorsy kind of makes sense for the metal prints.
Cool, thanks, yeah. All right, again, drop your questions in. We'll get those answered for you with our experts. And now we are just going to take a step forward and we're going to walk into the world of canvas. Okay, canvas over here, in the same way as metal prints have a lot of options, canvas has a ton of options. So we're just going to go through the two extremes kind of, and then talk about what's most popular. So what I'm holding here, the most popular version, this is our fine art canvas with a semi-gloss lamination. So the lamination is is very protective. Like this lamination is the bomb, and it has a UV protectant as well, right? So it's going to also be a giclée process. It's an inkjet giclée process directly on to a very tight weave, regular canvas. Okay.
And Robert, people always ask for clarification on it. You said, so basically the printer prints directly onto the canvas, right?
Exactly.
And this is one of the oldest mediums that we've had for a long time, right? Like I think a lot of people do know what a canvas looks like.
Yep, it's still so popular. It will always be popular, right?
Yep.
So that's the idea. If it says fine art in it, that means we are printing directly onto the canvas. That is made specifically for that.
Yep.
So that is the semi-gloss, and just by example, I'm just going to show you with the matte lamination. So you see there's a little more finish on the one, and again, there's really none on the other. It really knocks it down. So this is more about, I think, personal choice, right, as far as the lamination goes. But with the premium fine art canvas, yeah, you want it. You want the lamination because it is very protective.
And then the sample we're showing behind us today is on a family. This is a premium white or high gloss finish. Robert, help me.
This is our semi-gloss finish right on this one here.
Thank you. And this is obviously finished in a float frame. But the reason we're showing canvas is in the family just because it does match a lot of people's homes. It's classic, it's traditional, just like a photo print. You can't really go wrong with a canvas, to be honest. So I think it just is, it's popular and been around a long time for a reason.
That's a great way to put it. It's been around so long for a reason, and honestly, you can't go wrong with that, right? Whether it's framed or not, you know? And as you probably know with the options with the canvas, that's a wrap back in there. When you order a wrap, I showed you just a flat print. You can have your image wrap around the side, which I think is the most impactful, but sometimes your ratio or however you shot it doesn't really allow that. That's okay. You can just choose a white or black border that wraps.
That's exactly what I did with that one, Robert. It has a white border on the inside.
To go with that white frame. Sweet. Okay, let us move on, and we'll go over to acrylics. Now, acrylics, also very impactful, kind of in the same way that metals would be, right? The real difference is that there's just one version of it, right?
Correct.
Of the acrylic print. So I'll just walk you through it. Now, we're not talking about what's behind it, how you want to hang it. That's, you know, for another day. There's a lot of options. Check out the website. But what the acrylic print is at all sizes is going to be a fine art print, and it's going to be backed by styrene, black styrene, and then that is going to be joined to the 1/4-inch acrylic. And for me, the beautiful thing about the acrylic, it's very impactful, just like the metals are, but it's kind of the way it brings light in and puts it back out. I just am fascinated by these. And to be honest with you, this is great as an 8x10, but for me, the larger these are, the more impactful they are. I mean, really big ones are just, you can't stop looking at them.
And this is probably our newest printing service that we printed on in the last few years that we kind of added to our line, besides obviously some of the fine art papers. But this printing process is pretty neat, like you said. It's just hard to not stop and look at it when you're looking at it, even the acrylic blocks and stuff like that, the thick acrylic. It just is pretty awesome.
Right, so that's well said. We go from the options of something that stands on its own on a table, these acrylic blocks, all the way up to massive acrylic prints on the walls that just honestly knock your socks off. What kind of things would be good on acrylic? We have it over here in the corner.
We tend to compare these a lot with metal prints, but this one over here, we're kind of showing a variety both of, this is a landscape on top of with the portrait, right? So I think you get the best of both worlds on this image here. It still is, in my mind, like kind of bright and colorful with the blues, pops really with the acrylic, but then also has a landscape feel to it. So again, I kind of put this similar to the metal prints, what I would print those images on. At the end of the day, again, everything looks really cool on this, but it's really, but this is what we see come through a lot with the acrylics. Would be like art type prints, landscape, outdoors type photography.
Right, and having a person in there. The printing process is different, whereas on the metal print, it's a dye sublimation process, really quick. We have something that's printed on a transfer medium in reverse, and then it is heat bonded to become part of that metal print. So it is the dye sublimation process that creates the final product, as opposed to something where we're actually printing on the medium and then have the acrylic on top of it. So this pops a little bit more, the metals pop a little bit more. The acrylics have a great presence and pop. They have a little more consistency, say, across skin tones, lights to darks. Right? Outstanding. Beautiful. We have one more to show you here, and that is our wood print. These are actually pretty cool. I really like these. These are printed on. This is maple. It's actually wood. So if you can come in here on this one a little bit, if you can see the grain, each piece is unique. Each piece has grain. There's no way around it. We say, well, geez, what about the whites? What about white point? Well, it's maple. So the white point is not white. The white point is warm.
Well, and point out, Robert, this actually is a white border. So that's what happens when you print white.
So the same thing like metal. So the lighter the image is, the more the background shows through. There, obviously, if you have a lot of coverage, the pigment is going to kind of take care of that. But you need to know that it's going to show through. What does this make this? It makes it more organic, I think. It's pretty cool on the wall. And I think, you know, this looks great, but I also think there's specific imagery that works best on it. And you talk about that in a second. But as far as this goes, like the way this is set, this 8x10, is actually something that you can just choose. And when it says border, what it does, it puts on what's going to look like a white border. It's completely white, right? And that is going to come straight through to the wood, which is really cool. So how do these display best?
So on this one too, we're showing this sample again of like an outdoorsy type image. This one doesn't have a face right in here. That's sometimes, as Robert mentioned, the wood is unique to every product. So as you can see here in the sky, I think it's coming up here, you could actually see the wood grain here following. So again, obviously it's wood, we can't control where the wood grain goes every time. So it could, if you do have a large face here, it could go right over the eye or right over the nose. And to be honest, I still think if you like wood, it still looks nice and it is, you know, it sticks to the wood thing, but some people don't always like that. So that's why we suggest doing, you know, outdoors landscape type photography. You can have some faces in it, but I'd probably keep it a little smaller. But that 8x10 you showed did have a face in it too, and it looked okay. So again, it just depends on your style.
Yeah, true. And what I have here is a family portrait on wood, which is pretty cool too. Now the interesting thing that if Connie comes in on this and takes a look, you go, oh, I see some elements. That's actually a white wall that has a little shadowing to it. So that's kind of showing up lightly in the background, as is the white floor. You can see the texture there. So in an example like this is actually really cool background. Again, keeping in mind that we can't control where the grain goes. Every piece is unique, but it can be kind of an impactful piece as far as that goes. So that's it. That's our wood. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us again today for another WHCC Live and On Display. My name is Robert, and beside me is Christina. And thanks again for joining us, and we're going to see you next time. Listen, we're in the middle of my lunch. Can I have that? Yeah, thanks. Man. All right. I'll catch you guys later. That's cut, right?
Should I walk out?